I feel that the time has come to share prayer. This is called Crucifixes. There was a crucifix above every door in Grandma's house, and on a couple of walls, top center, otherwise barren. She inherited that trick from generations of God-fearing, home-owning misters who kept the livelong day there, singing housekeeping misses, well reminded of the plight of sons of men and the world out of doors. She decorated them with yellowing palm leaves, acquired one per year on Palm Sundays at the Catholic service nearby. She used to say that any time you have the mind is enough a time to pray. You could be sweeping the kitchen floor or riding your bicycle, bored in class or climbing trees. Just turn to God and give. But voices turn to God, purveying miseries, keeping their joys their own, because the least likely guide to be impressed by your jeweled sink taps is one in the throes of execution. Compare lethal injection, hanging, the rack, impalement, disembowelment, exposure, starvation, and the electric chair. And the least likely man to dance drunk is the naked one, publicly crucified, wearing a dunce crown and a sign. So, somewhere along the line I learned never to trust the man at the end of the whip. Either one. They're both preoccupied. After a season of hunger, I glutted blue rare the blood-bodied father and son in their ascetic bravado, and I sucked the fruit nectars of lovers' communion. I learned to despise and roar the misery of life, not glorify, not hope for deliverance from it in death. It's pathological optimism, or the poet in me, but life is so much worthier. Life manifests Christ in its so many familiar faces. Christ, who is the resurrecting body, the spirit of bread and wine and the urge. Christ of miracles, of accomplished horrors, the good loving Christ who always pulls rent out of a fish's mouth, or at least finds a place to crash for a few days while the universe resolves the problem. My Christ plays guitar, gets shit-faced, gets laid, sings sauntering down the street, brings strings of Christmas lights to her lovers because their living spaces seem lacking a certain light these days. My Christ knows the crackheads on her street by name and jams with them to mutual everywhere musical delight. My Christ gives baked goods, her poems, dead flowers to perfect strangers and makes them perfect friends. My Christ gives licorice to the sore-throated, treats her starved neighboring artists to sex and breakfast with real maple syrup, freezer jam, and unlimited coffee, gets them stoned before noon and sends them home to their art. Because human spirits, Christ knows, will not survive on omelets and toast alone.